This is going to be your guide for using Falinks. Again, more on that later, but now we're going to be looking at this Pokemon, which is a pure fighting type. So here is your fighting type refresher, and as I said before, this is a very neutral type. The good kind of balance with the bad, and there's nothing like crazy weak here, and there's also nothing crazy strong. So our weaknesses defensively are going to be Flying, Psychic, and Fairy, offset by our Rock, Bug, and Dark resistances. So nothing like super common on either of these. Fairy, see that quite a bit, but I mean like Psychic, Flying, yeah, it happens, but it's not like ridiculous. And then our resistances, don't see a lot of Bug. Dark is kind of uncommon. Rock, decent move, but also when we're looking at Falinks' stats, it's not something that we want to be switching in on, but it's not like having a ground weakness that completely ruins the Pokemon, or anything like that. Looking at us offensively, once again, weird trades right here. We have a lot of super effective hits. Dark, Ice, Normal, Rock, and Steel, but we're also resisted by a lot. Bug, Fairy, Flying, Poison, and Psychic, and some of those resistances stack with our weaknesses, so those specific types are going to be very hard to get over in general, and then Ghost is just going to be immune. Now, looking at Falinks' stats and all of its special stuff going on, yeah, it's not that exciting of a Pokemon. 100 on the attack, 100 on the defense, and then everything else is kind of low. 65 hit points, 65 special defense, you are going to get rocked. Even 65, 100 with the defense, not that great, and then 75 speed is whatever, but no retreat. Raises all stats by 1. That's the wake-up call. That is a Z move just for free as a non-Dynamax move. Like if you go Z move, hold hands, or happy hour, that gives +1 to all the stats. And we do that, but it traps the user. Now that doesn't sound like a drawback, but then it becomes a pretty heavy drawback later on. And then we have the ability Battle Armor. Pokemon cannot be struck by a critical hit or hidden ability Defiant. Defiant's pretty solid. This Pokemon's attack is raised by 2 for each of the stats lowered by a foe. Now, Intimidate just kind of like trades off because it doesn't negate the Intimidate, but you come at that with +1 instead of -1, so a lot of damage potential there. And also, a lot of max moves can lower stats, so it'd be cool if you lost defense or lost special attack even, and then you get to turn around and do a lot more damage because of it. So that's just like the basics of the Falinks. Now let's go and look at the Falinks Moveset. Since we are using no retreat, that is giving us a +1 to speed, and it's pretty much the primary thing this Pokemon wants to do, so that's going to be our speed tiers. That at level 50, with the +1 on a Jolly Nature, we outspeed Barraskewda. So we hit that 136 speed, and then that's going to be a big thing. Other Pokemon outspeed us, which is going to be pretty problematic because Dragapult still has our number, and that's where we have to like look for extra speed or extra weirdness. And this is why we're redoing the Falinks guide, because my first strategy was Choice Scarf, Dynamax, pull off some shenanigans, or Choice Band, Dynamax, pull off some shenanigans. There's a lot of problems with that. Well, the biggest problem is that choice items have no effect when you're in Dynamax. Now, this is really good to know that if you can kind of predict an opponent's item, or if you already know what item the opponent has, and they're like forced into a desperate Dynamax, then you're going to know what effects that are going to be benefiting them and which ones weren't. But with Falinks, my thought was, yo, Choice Scarf. You Scarf no retreat, that means you're outspeeding your opponent, you're gaining stats, they're doing less damage, now you have some kind of ridiculous speed that's going to be faster than most Pokemon, even at +1, and then you get all kinds of crazy benefits from that, and then you're still holding on to it through Dynamax. Doesn't work that way. Same thing for Choice Band. No retreat Choice Band, Dynamax unlocks your lock, and then you can just start using like close combat. So now +1, Choice Band, and then another +1 from Max Knuckle. We are unstoppable. Nope, you can't do that with the Falinks. So now this how to use guide is a lot more difficult to use. Then I had another idea. Like, what happens if we do take that Choice Scarf? So I just want to have this for like visuals and stuff, since we're talking about not movesets for a lot of this guide, but it was something I did think of. Like, okay, Choice Scarf could still be viable, because if you're faster than your opponent and you no retreat, you're getting a lot of benefits off that. Then if you Dynamax, well, you lose the Scarf, but now you still have your +1, and then when you're done with Dynamax, now you have all of those stats again. So that could be pretty good, except that when you wear off the Dynamax, the first move you locked into still applies. So Dynamax wears off, and then I'm still stuck in no retreat, and I don't really have too much of a benefit from that. And I was thinking, oh, well then you just switch out. Like, you Choice Scarf or Choice Band, you get all kinds of crazy effects, you blow up the opponent, then you switch out. It's called no retreat. You're not allowed to switch out. So now the second idea is, how do we replicate that? how do we simulate a choice item effect and then still get some really good benefits off of just like crazy stats from this Phalanx? Well, no retreat, Dynamax, and then hoping Salac Berry procs, because you're going to take a hit, then you no retreat, which means you're taking less of a hit, and then you're getting some of your health back, or you're like getting that bonus health from the Dynamax, and then maybe if you take another hit, you get like into that 25% range. It is gambling. It is a lot of gambling, but if you do that, now you're at double speed, and then a lot less is going to be able to keep up with you when it comes at speed, and then you're still throwing out big damage on the close combat. Smart Strike, Throat Chop, these are all going to be Dynamax moves as well, so Smart Strike will boost your defense, Max Knuckle will be +1 attack. However, Max Knuckle on close combat is less damage. That's because you're gaining +1, so it becomes 95 base power. Things to keep into consideration. So no retreat +1 Max Knuckle might not find KOs, and that's kind of like these weird trade patterns we're looking for. You no retreat, so you take a hit, no retreat. Now you outspeed, Max Knuckle, take a hit, survive. Salac Berry, now you're just faster than everything, you're at +2, you use Max Knuckle to finish them off, and now you're at +3, so Max Knuckle again, that's a straight KO, Smart Strike, Throat Chop, Steel Spike, and Darkness, these are just going to be straight KO moves, and then now you have the good coverage behind it, so nothing should be able to survive against you, except for like really bulky neutral hits, but you're still rocking an insane amount of damage. You come out of it, you don't really have an item, you don't really have anything else going for you, but you're good as long as you don't face priority, and that brings us to some of the other moves you can run. Mega Horn, that's just a lot of damage. The accuracy is kind of a gamble, but it is really nice just having those super effective hits against like bug weak Pokemon and then just backing up with a lot of damage. Iron Head, people are like, oh, why are you running Smart Strike and not Iron Head? It's just preference that in case the opponent starts setting up some kind of evasion, I want to be ready for that. Now it is going to be like very niche because when you use a max move bypasses accuracy check. So the Smart Strike, so Iron Head effectively becomes Smart Strike for those 3 turns, but like when it wears off. Or maybe something weird happens with a Phalanx. You Dynamax one of your other Pokemon, so it's just a non-Dynamax Phalanx. You no retreat, you take like a massive hit or something, you still find that Salac Berry range. Or maybe you don't. Maybe Phalanx is just a Pokemon now. It's just a +1 everything Pokemon. At least you have Smart Strike. No one is getting the evasion slip on Verlisify. But Iron Head, if you get the outspeed, then that gives you a chance to flinch, which is also pretty strong. Same thing when it comes to Zen Headbutt, that there's that chance to flinch. However, if you use Zen Headbutt when you are in your Dynamax, it sets Psychic Terrain. Psychic Terrain while making Psychic Pokemon stronger against you. So the recommendation, it's a tough call. There isn't really like that great of recommendation. You need a Steel-type move to deal with Fairy-type Pokemon that wreck you. But it's also good to get rid of priority because if you're dealing with this 25% health, clutching onto your last bit of life with all of these crazy stats, then having Psychic Terrain will negate that priority. But then you're just making Psychic Pokemon better and they wreck you, so you will need the Throat Chop to deal with the Psychic Pokemon. It's kind of wacky like that, and then Counter. I don't know, Counter is always good on just like cheese sets like Focus Sash. So Focus Sash guarantees your no retreat. Once again, that's going to give you priority problems, but it means that you can actually like face off against a Fairy-type Pokemon that outspeeds you. So let's go and pull up a Pokemon like Sylveon. I don't know, or just like really any kind of weird Fairy-type Pokemon. Scarf Sylveon. It's actually not that common because it's super low speed anyways, but a Scarf Pokemon or just a naturally faster Fairy-type Pokemon, anything that wants to blow you up like that, you survive, you come in, you +1, and then you get to KO it on a Smart Strike or an Iron Head. Also, when it comes to Counter, why do you play Pokemon? To get an advantage. If Phalanx goes 1-for-1, that's okay, so it's a good out. Like, okay, Phalanx ended up being useless, it can't do anything, it can't get set up, it can't snowball a sweep, you don't want to use your Dynamax on it. Focus Sash Counter. GG. Maybe you switch it out, because at that point you're not using no retreat. So if any Pokemon slower than 75 speed comes in, then Phalanx is a 1+. It's alright. I was looking into some other sets. No retreat, that gives you special defense, and then you can bulk up for more defense. So against a Swords Dancing or Dragon Dancing, or any Pokemon that's trying to set up a lot of stats, you can kind of counter them physically. Like, this does nothing against special attackers, but Psychic and Fairy are primarily special attacks, so you don't want to deal with them anyways. But I mean, we have Bulk Up, Iron Head Rust. The reason why we have Iron Head is that there's no really good, fighting type moves. So actually we can't search because Showdown hasn't updated yet. But Close Combat, that drops our defenses. We don't want to do that. Superpower, that drops our defense and attack. Why waste a bulk up to really accomplish nothing on it? And then we have Brick Break. But Brick Break can be immune by Ghost-type Pokemon, so that's why I like the Iron Head. Iron Head hits everything. Now there's going to be some Pokemon that hard resist us, like a Rotom Wash. And, like, actually just straight up Rotom does pretty well against us. Gyarados, bulky Water-type Pokemon. But at +6, they're going to feel the pain. And there is that chance to flinch, so that's pretty cool. I just like the idea from Chesto Resto as well, that if you can, like, eliminate your opponent's special attackers, and it's all physical on the table, you can just kind of win. It doesn't matter if you're asleep for 3 turns, because you're resting at, like, +6 defense, even with a +1 special defense, it's kind of nice. And then you just kind of wake up, do some hits, rest, wake up, do some hits. I don't know. Like, no retreat is really needed for this Pokemon because of the low special defense and low speed. And it just, like, takes up a slot. This Pokemon gets move slot syndrome super hard because of it, and it doesn't really have, like, super shenanigans backing it up. So that's a problem, and there isn't that Dynamax synergy, so it's just kind of weird. And then, here's the thing about my moveset guides. Because Indoor is a training record, and pretty much every Pokemon gets access to it, Indoor Pinchberry is always on the table, and some Pokemon are going to be better than others. You know retreat, you survive, you endure Salac Berry, now you have a 200 power reversal, pulling off crazy shenanigans. You're double speed, so very few Pokemon are going to be able to touch you. However, 1 hit points priority is still going to be a problem. Maybe you have like another Dynamax Pokemon, like their last move is a Psychic move to set the Psychic terrain. On the turn they die, you bait that out, you do the Salac Berry things, and then you at least have a few turns of priority safety. Then Poison Jab, just another option. Just gotta show you can have this against Fairy-type Pokemon. It does pretty well. Iron Head is also good, but Iron Head's super effective against Rock. Fighting super effective against Rock. So just kind of like what you need to get around. However, this makes you vulnerable to Ghost-type Pokemon, so that's where I do feel the Iron Head is going to be a better option. Can't play for everything, especially when you only have 2 offensive moves and you're trying to do all this other setup. But hey, the +1 attack, +2 speed, 100 attack. Now this 100 attack actually starts mattering quite a bit. And when I say the 100 attack matters, it really starts to matter because +1 with a 200 base power move is going to be doing ridiculous amounts of damage. That is a massive overkill on the Silvally, and if we compare that to Dracovish, which is like the one-shot machine that everyone is terrified of, we have 104 to 123, and Falinks is getting like 25% more damage than that. By the way, check out all of my other how to use guides, learn how to use the Generation 8 Pokemon, find that in the description down below. And I was also thinking about some more frail Pokemon that if we encounter a resisted hit, but the Pokemon has like very low hit points and defense, then there's also a chance we can just one-hit KO them, or if we just take like a regular Pokemon and then they Dynamax. Unfortunately, we don't have enough damage to just like one-shot the Cinderace with reliability if it Dynamaxes, but does show a lot of the damage that we're dealing with. And if it's like a 70-70 Pokemon, so 70 hit points, 70 defense, uninvested, then we're looking at a very high probability that we either one-shot it through a Dynamax, or if it is a resisted hit, it's not really going to matter too much. If you get this set up on the Phalanx, that's where Stealth Rocks might start to matter, or just any chip damage, so this Pokemon being a good finishing Pokemon is something that you want to keep in mind as well. And then you're doing a 200 base power move, that's KOs. And if they, like, what if they're forced to just Defiant you? You know, they bring in a Gyarados. Gyarados can't do anything about that. Intimidate is always going to happen. So now you're coming out with like a +2 or something. This is just for all Phalanx in general. You just kind of have like stuff happen. And that's what you need to be aware of, is stuff happens. Now, Phalanx is one of like, it felt like one of the strongest Pokemon I ever used when I was using it on the Battle Tower. Like the skill team Phalanx just kind of like hard sweeps. But there were times where I did get exploited by what felt like the Battle Tower cheating and bringing hard counter teams. And also against the meta, Mimikyu, very common Pokemon. What are you doing against Mimikyu? You know retreat, it goes for like a Swords Dance or something. You trade Sashes or like Sash versus the Disguise ability. And then you still kind of have like bad things happen, you know? You trade and then they Shadow Sneak you and you die. So priority weak, fairy weak, meta weak. Phalanx does find some hard times. I think it's a lot better in 6v6. I think it's too much of a gamble to bring in 3v3. But if you can kind of like play for it being your in-game cleanup Pokemon in a 6v6, definitely something to keep an eye on. Definitely something to consider like that. And otherwise, like, it can be good. This Pokemon can hard sweep people out. Especially because, like, with the coverage, it's really nice, and with this no retreat, it's still a busted move. It's one of the best moves we've ever seen in Pokemon, but the stats kind of let the Pokemon down, and then the meta is just kind of like against this Pokemon's favor, and you can't do any cheese Dynamax. Like another Pokemon Dynamaxes, you don't get to one-shot them, and then you get blown up. That happens a lot too. So that's gonna be the Falinks, guys. Hope you all enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.